ahead.
Like this. Just take that and bang it 3 times, and then bring that. Oh yeah, oh yeah.
And then the rest of it.
1, 2, 3, 4.
All rise. Oyez, oyez, oyez. Silence is commanded by this honorable commission. All those have business, draw near.
Thank you, and you may be seated. You've heard our deputy say that silence is commanded for these proceedings, so I ask all of you at this time now to check your cell phones, okay, or any other device that may go off. Please check that because I'm letting you know now, fair warning. If it go out to Coleman's Bed and Breakfast, it'll be a long time before you get it back, and there's gonna be a lot of trouble. All right, I got the chief deputy here, and he can testify to what I'm telling you. All right, it's not easy once to go out there to get it back from out there. All right, so I don't want your device to go out there because you forgot to cut it off. Please, ma'am, check it, cut it off, or mute it so it won't make any disturbance in this. We're so grateful this morning to have with us our neighbor, all right, and she comes to us as the pastor, the interim pastor, Reverend Stacy Martin from the Lutheran Church of the Ascension next door, all right? And she is ordained Presbyterian minister, having spent more than 2 decades in ministry and nonprofit leadership, and most recently served as the CEO for the Recovery Center in New Mexico, all right? She and her husband, Jeff, are delighted to be in Savannah, and we're delighted to have you here. And I invite you to the podium now to give us your inspiration, and then I'll ask that as you get ready for prayer to do the invocation, if you will give us a signal so that we all can stand. And I ask you to stand at that time as we go into prayer with her. Following the prayer, Commissioner Milton will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, all right?
Excellent.
Pastor.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank
Good
you.
morning. Thank you for the privilege of joining you today. There's an old proverb that I love that says, "A society grows great when people plant trees in whose shade they know they shall never sit." I've always loved that image, but it feels especially fitting here at Chatham County, where so much of the beauty of our city and our county quite literally comes from trees planted and tended by people who came long before us. Those trees are a reminder that most of what comes from a community, what makes community good, is inherited. We inherit streets we did not pave, parks we did not create, institutions we did not establish, traditions we did not begin, and a county whose story began long before any of us were entrusted to it. And then for a little while, all of us are entrusted to the work of the common good. In the language of faith, the word for this responsibility is often called stewardship. We associate stewardship sometimes with money, but its meaning is so much larger. A steward is simply someone entrusted with the care of something that ultimately belongs more than themselves. I can think of few better descriptions of public service. Every person gathered here has been entrusted for a season with some part of the life of this beautiful county we call home. The decisions made here touch people we know and peoples whose names we may never know. Children who cannot yet vote, neighbors who may never enter this building, families who've lived here for generations, newcomers just calling Savannah and Chatham County home, business owners, workers, people who are thriving, people who are struggling. The prophet Micah asks a wonderfully simple question: what does God require of us? And his answer is especially simple: to do justice, to love kindness, to walk humbly with God. Justice, kindness, humility. Those are the qualities of a life lived in public service and leadership. Justice asks us to consider the good of the whole community. Kindness reminds us that behind every policy, every budget line item, permit, complaint, difficult decision are human beings, our own neighbors. And humility reminds us that none of us possesses all the wisdom in the room. Perhaps then the measure of faithful public service is not whether we get everything right, Perhaps it's whether during this brief time these responsibilities are entrusted to us, we tend to them well. Whether we listen carefully, make room for one another, remember those who are not in the room, and have the courage to think beyond the next meeting or the next election, and for those who come after us. So, may we plant some trees whose shade we will never sit beneath, and may those who come after us be grateful that for a little bit, this beautiful county of ours was entrusted to our care. And now, let us pray.
May we stand?
The Lord be with you. Good and gracious God, we give you thanks for this county, for its beauty and history, its neighborhoods and people, and for all who call Chatham County home. Grant those entrusted with public service wisdom in their deliberations, patience in disagreement, courage when decisions are difficult, and humility enough always to listen. Help us to seek justice, practice kindness, and remember especially those whose voices are too easily overlooked. Bless the work undertaken here. May the decisions made in this place serve the common good and help build a county in which all people may flourish. And all God's children said, Amen.
Commissioner Milton?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. To Pastor Martin, it was good to be here. Let me welcome you and Jeff to the city of Savannah, county of Chatham, especially since you are our next door neighbor. We look to interface and to interact with you throughout. All right, we're always across here, somewhere on the second or fourth floor. All right. So again, we're welcome and thank you for being here with us today. All right. Roll call.
Chester A. Ellis, Chairman.
Present.
Melinda Scott Hodge, District 2, Vice Chairman.
Present.
Dean Kicklighter, District 7, Chairman Pro Tem.
He's in the back.
Anthony Wayne Noah, District 1.
Here.
Robbie Lockett, District 3.
Here.
Brian M. Hussey, District 4.
Here.
Tanya Milton, District 5.
Present.
Aaron Whiteley, District 6.
Here.
Marcia Buford, District 8.
Here.
Thank you, ma'am. At this time, we will have our proclamations and special presentation. And first up will be a presentation on the West Nile given by our director, all right, of mosquito control. And also I see he's got Dr. Ruskin with him. Good. All right, from the health department. You can come on up. Yeah, you can come on up and you all share in the presentation, and let's talk about the West Nile.
All right, good morning, Chairman,
Morning.
Commissioners. We'll rock and roll, try to get through this a little bit quick. You can pepper me with questions at the end, I guess. So I'm Terry Carlson, I'm the Director of Mosquito Control. Dr. Rustin's here with the Health Department. First graph I want to show you guys real quick, 2 points I want to make with this. This is West Nile virus since basically it got here in 2003. I want to point out two things. There's kind of a natural pattern that's setting up with this now that we're 20-some years in. You'll look at the graph, you'll kind of see 3 years on, a couple years off. It kind of flows naturally. It has a little bit of ebb and flow in its own right. The other thing I want to mention to this is you'll look at like year number 2013, 2017, 2018. You'll see the orange bar, which is the total West Nile positive mosquitoes, is much higher than the orange bar, which is the first 8 months of the year. So sometimes we can have a late West Nile season. And my expectation this year is we're shaping up for a later West Nile season. So we're going to get into September here and see how this goes. But it's not uncommon. It has happened in the past, and so we're here to react to that. Next thing I want, average. 10-year average of positive mosquito pools versus what we're looking at this year. Week 34, if you're not used to looking at epi weeks, which most people aren't, so week 26 is usually around the 4th of July. We're ending week 34 right now. So this is up-to-date stats out of our lab as of yesterday afternoon. So week 34, we're up, still below average, but that's why I'm thinking we're going to have a late push in this. So, and this is our southern house mosquito population. Again, you're looking at the weeks of the year, 1 through 52 down there, and our 10-year average versus what we're seeing in the red bars right now. So we're seeing a little bit of a push currently. I don't have week 34 on there. That number's from last week. And so we're out doing typically what we do. The comment on there is storm drain treatments. We treat about 9,500 to 10,000 catch basins a year. Those are the drains on the curbs, and they hold water almost constantly. This mosquito loves to go underground and lay eggs. Just has a habit for it. And our preemptive measure on this before treating with adulticides or what people are used to seeing with the helicopters is to get out and treat those storm drains, which we did earlier this year than average. We saw this dry weather coming. We saw the mosquito population spiking. So we pushed our treatment earlier to try to combat that. And we started to see the fall shortly after treating storm drains a little bit. This population will never go to zero. It's just not possible. It's never happened in 70 some years of us monitoring it. But our goal is to keep it down and to keep the mosquitoes young, which is kind of the hard part. Old mosquitoes transmit more virus. Young mosquitoes, naive mosquitoes have had less blood meals, less likely to transmit disease. So we want them young and have to be a little ageist with them and get rid of the older ones. That's the plan. So we'll get into how homeowners can help. It's classic. Think small. Homeowners think small. That is just a bottle cap. It's nothing fancy. It's not huge. Those are 6 mosquito larvae in it from the southern house mosquito. They can pull off living like that. Tip-of-toss is our big thing for homeowners. There's a whole list. You can go on and on forever, think about things that can hold a little bit of water. So to tell you the truth, this list could just be eternal. But this is where we need homeowners to help us, is in their backyards with this. Just some quick pictures of what we see in the field of all those little small spots, tires, buckets, wheelbarrows, you name it, garbage cans. Bird bass are notorious. Just those spots that need to be tossed out. The other thing we ask homeowners to do is to not dump anything into ditches or storm drains. We do see this. You see people when they blow their leaves off their driveway or their grass, they blow it right into the storm drain. Whether or not it clogs the storm drain is an issue. But even if it doesn't, if it gets into that below ground scenario, that water goes very aerobic. It starts to smell really bad, and the southern house mosquito loves it. The worse water can smell, the more of that mosquito larvae you'll get from it. It just adores it. So it'd be great if people can just keep all that stuff and dispose of it properly, not get it down the drains, keep it out of the ditches, drainage ways, anything like that. Maintain proper septic systems. As surprising as it is, I've worked in multiple places from Illinois to Memphis, Tennessee, and I have actually heard of and seen the southern house mosquito coming out of vent pipes here for the first time in my career. So please screen and cover those vent pipes if you're on a septic system, because they will just fly down it, make their way to your septic tank, and reproduce in there. So it's a unique thing, but proper septic maintenance is good. That untreated water, if it bubbles up onto the ground, if there's cracks and risers, or if they can get into that raw sewage, this mosquito loves it. And my general belief is if it can grow in raw sewage, you shouldn't trust it, and you should probably get rid of it. So it's a pretty important step. Again, personal protection. You can never get the mosquito population to zero, so it is important for people to protect themselves. Dress, long sleeves, pants. I know that's always fun in a heat wave when there's no rain in the forecast, and getting people to kind of cover up is a bit of a fight. But lightweight, loose-fitting clothing is good too. Anything tight, mosquitoes can bite through it. So better to go lightweight, loose-fitting. Light-colored is always good. If you can avoid dusk and dawn, the southern house mosquito really does like to fly at that half hour from sunset to after sunset, and about that half hour before sunrise. And then, of course, the EPA registered insect repellents. Pick yours. There's a list. All those are registered. We prefer and like to say registered repellents because they'll have recommendations on application rates, when you should reapply, how many hours later, how much you should use, things like that. So at least there's recommendation with the EPA registered products. And there's a lot more active ingredients available on the market now than even 3 years ago. And the last update I have before I'll hand it over to Dr. Russell real quick is the helicopters. On the agenda today, we are looking to upgrade one of our helicopters. That'll be the first one on the list, the N24JH. We affectionately call that helicopter Julia. And we are looking to upgrade her just like we did with the helicopter right below that, CQ. That's Charlie. Charlie went through the upgrade, just got back, and did a magnificent job with us firefighting on Wausau Island last week. That machine just performed. It's got a really nice engine in it. We didn't have to worry about temperature or safety issues or anything like that. We're looking for that same upgrade to Julia and bringing her out of the 1980s. So she's had a good career, plenty of hours on her. So we're just looking to do that upgrade. We have one helicopter on order. You'll see it at the very bottom of the list. In the bottom right-hand corner is the picture of where that helicopter stands right now in the rebuild project. So we don't really have a name for her yet, but when it comes off the line, we'll figure out what the tail number is and go from there. But that helicopter is in the process. We're expecting December. We will only be at 4 helicopters because we will be looking at selling one of our helicopters. So we'll keep our fleet at 4. We're just really updating that fleet and giving it more power and more safety margins so the pilots can fly safely. And I'll go over to Dr. Rustin for a little bit more for you guys.
So Chairman,
Good morning.
Board of Commissioners, good morning. You know, I always start these public health presentations off with a brief history lesson. The lecturer in me likes to do that. There's a lot of firsts in Savannah, and a lot of it ties back to mosquito control, public health controls. Savannah was the first city to have the first state health officer in the late 1700s. That was because of infectious diseases, pestilence, things that were being brought off the ships into the city. In the early 1800s, we were the first to establish a board of health for the same reason. Back then, there was pit privies. There wasn't septic systems. There was the little outhouses, but they were all over the city. They were all over the county. Someone had to check those to make sure they weren't causing people to get sick. Fast forwarding very quickly to the 1900s, we saw a very rapid sort of change in public health. Everything shifted to more modern systems to really to protect from infectious diseases. As you can see, I've highlighted mosquito control there because that's really when modern mosquito control came into place. Obviously, there was programs put in place for septic systems, garbage reduction, milk pasteurization, water treatment. But in this area, primarily on the coast, during that time, people were dying from yellow fever. They were dying from malaria, from mosquito-borne diseases. I always point out the canal system when I talk about mosquito control in the city. You know, the canal system really at the time served 2 purposes: to prevent flooding, but also during that time in the early 1800s, at the time they didn't know what was causing disease. They didn't know that mosquitoes was causing disease. But what they did recognize is that when people lived close to water, to standing water, they got sicker. And so that started this whole, idea in the early 1800s to prohibit rice cultivation in the city. That was a wet cultivation at the time. It was causing standing water, it was causing mosquitoes, people were getting sick. And so they moved that to draining swamps and to a dry cultivation. And then the Drainage Canal Commission was created, and that's when a lot of the sort of flood areas started being drained. And all of this helped in reducing mosquitoes in our area. So fast forwarding to why we're here today. So we've had our first 2 human cases of West Nile virus. We announced 1 case. We were just made aware that we've had our 2nd human case in the area. It's not a time to be alarmed. It is a time for people to be vigilant, to protect themselves. As Turi mentioned, we'll never get mosquitoes down to 0. I mean, we live in an area where there's always going to be mosquitoes. But there's a lot of things that humans can do to prevent themselves from being bitten. Mosquito control is a huge part of that. And I've worked all over the state in public health, and I always say that Chatham County has the best mosquito control in the state, in the southeast, in my opinion. The work that they do and the partnership we have with them is always really good to be able to educate the citizens. But West Nile virus is why we're here today, and really West Nile is a disease of birds. The reservoir for West Nile is in birds. It gets amplified in birds. It circulates in birds, primarily the corvid species, which is crows, ravens, birds of prey. But mosquitoes bite birds. They start transmitting it to humans and horses. Thankfully, at least with West Nile virus, it's not continued to be transmitted once it gets into a human or a horse. But we're the unfortunate sort of end host for this disease, West Nile. just a little bit of statistics. West Nile is potentially a serious illness. It's the leading cause of mosquito-borne disease in the United States. Each year, more than 1,300 people nationally develop severe illness that affects the central nervous system. Last year in Georgia, there were 18 confirmed human cases of West Nile and 1 in the Coastal Health District. So we're at 2 now in Chatham County. Since 1999, there's been 28 human cases of West Nile in Chatham County. Again, according to the CDC, the good news is about 80% of people who get West Nile won't have any symptoms or very mild symptoms. They may have a fever, headache, body aches, joint aches, but there is a small number of individuals that can develop severe symptoms, which is what we really want to make sure people protect themselves from. This can be high fever, a stiff neck, headache. Essentially, it's affecting the central nervous system. The important thing about West Nile is there's no vaccine to prevent it, and there's really no treatment other than supportive treatment to manage the symptoms if you actually get the disease. So the risk factors, really anyone can get West Nile if you travel or live in an area where it's endemic. It's endemic in our area. It's really endemic in just about every state. It circulates this time of year. But the highest risk are individuals that are over the age of 65. Individuals with chronic medical conditions like diabetes, high blood pressure, something that compromises their immune system like cancer. These are the individuals that really need to protect themselves. We know it's circulating in the area, and prevention really is the key. So as Turi mentioned earlier, there's a lot of things that you can do to prevent yourself from being bitten. Obviously, the tip and toss, a lot of these mosquitoes are just in your backyard. And so tip and tossing, dumping buckets, trying to keep water from becoming stagnant is very important. And then, we always promote the 5 Ds of prevention. Dusk and dawn, again, that's when mosquitoes that transmit West Nile are most active. Try to limit activities, which is hard to do in our area. That's when it's a little bit cooler and we're out and about. But if you're out and about, try to wear, long clothing if you can, at least loose-fitting, longer clothing. And then EPA repellents, we always say DEET, but as Turi mentioned, there is a lot of different repellents that are approved by EPA now that's not DEET-based, but DEET-based repellents work very well. Again, drain and empty anything around your home that holds water. And then also doors. That's something that's often overlooked. If you've got doors that don't fit very well or you have screen doors that aren't fitting very well, make sure, mosquitoes will come in your home and bite you inside your home as well. So try to repair those types of things. And then, lastly, from the health department side, we work very closely with mosquito control. Anytime that we, have a human case, we make sure that the director of mosquito control is aware of that. We really try to promote education, put out press releases. Anytime, the media wants us to talk about prevention, we're happy to do that. And so, again, I want to thank you all for letting me be here today. And then what I'll end with is our environmental health program. Our environmental health program is really the entity within public health that is our inspection and enforcement arm. They can go out and inspect the failing septic systems, or if we get a complaint, we can enforce that. That is in the public health code that a septic system must function properly. Public swimming pools or community swimming pools typically are maintained, but if they're not maintained, they can turn into a very stagnant environment where mosquitoes can breed. And so we do regulate those types of pools and can work with mosquito control to enforce those situations if we have to go that route. And then obviously we work very closely with the county on blighted properties, with mosquito control, with building safety, to try to eliminate as much habitat that mosquitoes can breed in. And so with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
All right, Commissioner Noah.
Thank you, Chairman. I have a couple of questions. Are you able to say where the West Nile was found, what part of the county?
The human-wise, no, I can't say, but I know that the surveillance data, I believe, is pretty available.
Yeah, and the mosquitoes have we're now at like 10 trap sites. You can basically look at the Wilmington River.
Okay.
All the way out to 95, maybe just a little bit west of that, and then Savannah River down to the Ogeechee. It's kind of in that old classic chunk of Savannah, so.
Okay, I have several questions. And for the community, how do they request flyovers or springs? Is there a number or a website they can go to request that?
Absolutely. Service requests are a big part of our program. So getting out there to where people want us to be, and obviously we can't trap everywhere all the time, so we rely on those service requests to tip us off on trouble spots. So the phone number's 790-2540. They're always welcome to call the office. But we do also work in the My Chatham app. If you call us, we're putting you into that queue alert, that My Chatham system. We run all of our service requests out of that. So, you know, if they want to just get the app and jump in and do that, that's perfect too, or we'll put it in for them. We're happy to
Okay,
do that.
sounds great. Also, with the Walsall fire, I think they were refueling at Rodney Hall. So they were flying right over the house, and that was great work that y'all did there, in getting control of that. Also, I've had a lot of calls in the last, I'd say, 6 months about notifying the beekeepers in the area. What's the best way for the community to handle that?
The best way to get notified is to sign up for the notification system.
Okay.
We have a smart 911, a reverse 911 system. It'll send you a call, email, or text
Okay.
whenever an aerial adulticide mission's planned. So we send it out 24 hours in advance.
Okay.
That way they'll know, like, Tuesday night if we're going to be there with the helicopters Wednesday evening. So, and it's very common. I think we're over 11,000 people signed up on it right now. So it's
Gotcha.
pretty heavily used, so.
Okay, and the last thing, just a suggested name for the new bird would be Skeeter.
Hopefully we'll get a tail number with an S in it. That'll work out well.
Commissioner Milton?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for the presentation. That was really good. And I appreciate the press releases that you send out. We get them published as much as we can. But my question is, how do you service those huge canals that are not being maintained, like off Veterans Parkway, in Village Green, or in Georgetown? How do you, is that the helicopter that does that, or?
Honestly, in most of the canals, we don't have to do a lot of chemical work. There's a lot of fish in them, or we will introduce fish into them. There's a small fish that we use for biological control. The mosquito fish, Gambusia holobrook, is the species that we use. It's just a small 3-inch minnow, and we love to put it into standing water just about anywhere. As long as that water will be permanent and not dry out, that fish will destroy mosquito larvae. It is absolutely amazing. So we make sure the canals have it. If people call about canals, we inspect, we'll walk out and look. Is there fish activity in these canals? So even if they look bad, that fish is making a living off of anything that's happening into them. And we don't see, we hardly ever see mosquito production in any of the canals, no matter how gross they look, to tell you the truth.
That's interesting, because they're really gross.
That fish requires very little oxygen and it produces like guppies in your fish tank. Live babies, she just spits them out and off they start working. It's pretty impressive. They're a great asset and free. So
Good deal, thank you. Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you for what you do and thank you for your presentation. All right, and we just look forward to the new helicopter arriving.
yeah, so are we. So
All
yeah.
right, thank you.
Thanks.
Let me, before I move on, let me do this. I see we have our tax commissioner here, all right? We also have a judge here. He's here for a special reason, but he's here, still here. Do I miss any constitutional officers that's sitting? Okay, I didn't. All right. Let us now go on to our presentation from our Park and Recs as well as our resiliency program. All right. Ms. Jackie, Ms. Holland. Thank you, Doc. Appreciate you taking time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think I'm a little taller. Good morning.
Good morning.
It's me again, your ray of sunshine. Jackie Jackson with the Resilience Program here at Chatham County. And I did want to preface just a little bit of an introduction again for those who may not be as up to speed. The Resilience Program was established about 4 years ago now. And I believe the program has grown quite a bit, and we're going to introduce reintroduce some of those efforts with you here today. But before we get started, this particular presentation, we've got a number of different media that we're going to show to you today, has been a team effort for sure. After we brought you I guess a couple months ago, the conversation about Green Island and the conservation of that property, we got together and pulled together some, as I said, some different media. But that really has been a team effort between Public Information Office, engineering, our GIS team, Parks and Rec, as well. And it's been, you'll see the outcome, but I think we've done some good work, and we're going to continue bringing some of this information to you. So with that, here is a short video that PIO has put together about our conservation and open space program thus far.
Chatham County is home to 3,492 acres of protected green spaces. Our parks, nature preserves, walking trails, and flood mitigation areas reflect our commitment to preserving the beauty of our home for those who enjoy them today and for those who will enjoy this place for generations to come. Green Island, only accessible by boat, sits off the coast of Skidaway Island. Purchased by Chatham County with the help of a $3 million grant from the Georgia Outdoor Stewardship Act, Green Island's 500 acres of land is specifically protected for the value of its natural resources, habitat, and ecological functions. Conservation of these natural spaces is a priority for Chatham County. 16 other sites around the county share this designation, and land
I don't know. I would think it's a network issue. What in the world?
One moment, please.
Chatham County is home to 3,492 acres of protected green spaces. Our parks, nature preserves,
Okay,
walking trails,
we'll just do it a different way. Sorry.
That is Will Peoples,
Yes.
part of our PIO team. Yes, it is, and he really, I said the same thing, he's got such a, PBS kind of, voice to it.
All right, sorry about that.
Chatham
just gonna
County is
back
home
away.
to 3,492 acres of protected green spaces. Our parks, nature preserves, walking trails, and flood mitigation areas reflect our commitment to preserving the beauty of our home for those who enjoy them today and for those who will enjoy this place for generations to come. Green Island, only accessible by boat, sits off the coast of Skidaway Island. Purchased by Chatham County with the help of a $3 million grant from the Georgia Outdoor Stewardship Act, Green Island's 500 acres of land is specifically protected for the value of its natural resources, habitat, and ecological functions. Conservation of these natural spaces is a priority for Chatham County. 16 other sites around the county share this designation, and land set aside for nature preserves and resident-accessible multi-use trails protect the natural ecosystems that support vulnerable species and encourage biodiversity. And just off the mainland, Chatham County is working to preserve the integrity of our salt marsh islands, critical buffers during storm surges and hurricanes. Our goal is to protect these spaces so residents can engage with the splendor of the natural world in their own backyard and enjoy the benefits of a healthy coastline. And while these spaces are set aside to be preserved undeveloped, there are over 400 acres of county-owned land designated to be used for recreation. Chatham County's community parks like Lake Mayer Park, L. Scottsdale Park, and Tom Triplett Park allow residents to enjoy a wide array of recreational activities. For nature lovers, our green spaces, preserves, and walking trails go on for miles through Chatham County's maritime forests, marshes, and even alongside the Savannah River. But recreation isn't limited to inland areas. Chatham County maintains several water access areas for boating, as well as the beautiful Tybee Island Pier. And some areas remain intentionally open and undeveloped as we acquire properties through FEMA or other flood buyout programs. Keeping these spaces free of development allows the land to absorb floodwaters, preventing dangerous flooding in neighborhoods and homes across the county. Chatham County's unique landscapes, from sprawling tidal marshes to forests of moss-draped oaks, are built into the social and economic fabric of the community. Acquiring property for open space designation allows the county to ensure that iconic wildlife and habitats are protected while allowing visitors to interact with the environment through recreation. This, in turn, provides economic benefit by boosting tourism and flood protection. Because of the social and economic importance of Chatham County's natural landscapes, it is crucial that they receive enduring protections so that future generations can experience the same natural wonder we experience today. If you'd like to learn more about Chatham County's green spaces, scan this QR code or click the link below to view our interactive story map, a guide of all 3,492 acres of green space protected by Chatham County.
So we thought that was a really nice take on a compilation of a number of the parks and open spaces and conservation areas that Chatham County has been working on for so long. And honestly, I thought it was very timely when Reverend Martin spoke this morning as she talked about the forethought or the foresight of our predecessors, and then kind of taking that forward with the board here today, how we are committed to preserving our tree canopy, our conservation areas for generations to come as well. And of course, as we're going to delve into it a little bit more, there's so much more to what they provide, not just the natural beauty as well. So what we were going to also delve into, just a little bit, was to show you, here, let me go, sorry. Get rid of that. Just going to really highlight the conservation properties that we've been working on for so long. Again, Green Island has brought forward a number of opportunities and realizations of what's out there in Chatham County. So, with that, just real quickly, some may not be familiar with Ella Island. It's not far from Green Island. We've had it under Chatham County ownership since the 70s, but basically it is a lot of marsh, so it's not gonna forever be developed and that type of thing. So it is currently protected, as I said. A lot of you are probably very familiar with Whitmarsh Preserve out on Wilmington Island, Whitmarsh area. That was acquired in 2000 as one of our very first big purchases under the Resource Protection Commission back in the day, and has since become really this little hidden gem on Wilmington Island and that area, and it's definitely open to the public. People really go out there and walk quite a bit. But again, it's protected under Chatham County ownership as well as green space. And Al Bungard Conservation Area, as mentioned, that was put in place in 2002. It's a little over 491 acres, which is pretty amazing as a nature preserve. And it also has walking trails and fishing and a pavilion and parking and that type of area open to the public as well. Blue Sky Preserve out on the west side in 2008, that's over 615 some odd acres. Again, a nature preserve that's open to the public for fishing and walking off of Fort Argyle Road area. And that is a really beautiful area. And that was also, just FYI, under the Resource Protection Commission, that effort as well, under protecting that. Pennyworth Island is a nature preserve just over the bridge, and that's about 167 acres, acquired in 2009 with the help of that program as well, the Resource Protection Commission. And you probably passed it a million times and didn't even know it was there, but Chatham is currently protecting that as well as conservation. Great Ageechee Lakes. This one's right at almost 300 acres off of Fort Argo Road as well. And again, a conservation property that we're protecting along that really pristine waterway, the Ageechee River, and trying to maintain that, that area. And as I mentioned, most recently, Green Island. This was just last year in August, and it's right at 500 acres, which is pretty amazing, off of Skidaway Island, next to Ella Island, undeveloped, a conservation property that we are currently working on. Holly is going to go into a little more detail with regards to next steps on Green Island as well. All that to say, our conservation areas, as well as parks and those pristine open space areas, we've got over 3,500 acres that falls under the management of Chatham County, which is pretty amazing. And I think it's something that, and which is why we're here today, to keep reassuring and really telling the public that Chatham is really putting a lot of thought and effort into these properties and to the future generations, but also protection of our resources, both human and natural resources. We're going to dive into this a little bit more, but you can see the pie chart really breaks down those 3,500 acres. Conservation is a big part of that, but of course we mentioned flood mitigation, which are those FEMA buyout properties or properties we realize need to be protected and not built on in some ways. And of course, recreation is 37.7. And I am going to show you one other. And this was an effort that engineering and our GIS team put together. And it is a story map. And this is where you get to see the alligator come across the bottom. But I'll let Holly delve into this a little bit more. But again, I think what's important as part of this effort, we've decided we want to make sure that the general public knows more about these efforts as well. So the story map will be public. We're going to put it on our websites and engineering and parks and rec and whatnot. And there's also, and I've included a hard copy at your desk, but a map where the general public can access and see these locations of the parks, and we'll continue to build on that as well. And I will. So this particular story map goes into the different, as I mentioned, our parks, our preserves, our waterways, our boat ramps, and those type of opportunities. It really describes and defines those so that general public, as well as ourselves, can understand a little bit more about the types of open space and how those are quantified and where they are. And then as you scroll through, you start to see a breakdown of each one, which is super cool, I think. So again, 3,400 acres of open space throughout the county. And then this is where I'll turn it over to Holly to go into more depth about each one a little bit.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Holly Holdsworth, one of the deputy directors for the Parks and Recreation Department. Glad to be here. Some of you may not know that my background is actually in natural, cultural, and historic resource management. Before coming to the county, I spent 13 years as a park ranger with the Department of Natural Resources. And so while I have grown to understand the importance and love youth athletics, efficiently running a golf course, how to build a playground, how to renovate basketball courts, my true purpose for coming to the county was these specific green spaces that are in our inventory and the excitement I had about them. And so, we have an extensive inventory as Jackie started to show. And while we have some of them for conservation, we have some of them that are obviously park spaces that have a little bit of both, some of those natural resources as well as those recreation properties. You go into some of our more multi-use trail properties and can showcase those. And our sports facilities obviously are things that are pretty popular and have a significant amount of our population utilizing them. I think it's really great to note the amount of water resources that are existent in this county, and the county owns a majority of the public access to those water spaces, and they are extensively used as you go to any boat ramp in the summertime, and those parking lots are always full. So while they're not a whole lot to look at that boat ramp, they're giving that access opportunity for people to get out on the water. We also have, significant properties that have been purchased for flood mitigation and a lot of the resilience factors related to that. You can continue through this story map, and it goes through, various reasons for those conservation efforts, different aspects for shoreline protection, wildlife management protection, and a lot of what we do is for the purpose of making that human connection to those spaces, because preservation happens best when people feel a connection towards it, and so those generations to come will actively work to protect it. And so we see that as a great opportunity to provide opportunities for people's public enjoyment of those spaces, or to learn about them if they are spaces that are more for conservation purposes. The value of open space, and we have some really great aerial photographs. This is related to McQueen's Island Trail and what's occurred there. We're about to go into renovations for protections of that trail.
So it's pretty interesting. What we've included here is, you can see as you scroll left to right over that, the change in McQueen's Island Trail from 1951 to 2011. And it just reiterates how these properties, some of them previous rails to trails, really are protection mechanisms for roads and resources nearby as well. And this is how Mother Nature has done a lot of her work, as well as some of the ship traffic.
You can see the shift of that shoreline from 1951 as you
And
come across.
again, reiterating how important the conservation of some of these areas are to the entire coast and Chatham County. Conservation is very important.
As we look ahead, Green Island is one of our too many buttons up here to touch. Green Island is our most recent acquisition. I'm excited that a couple weeks ago we kicked off our green space management plans with Kinley Horn, and that's about a 12-month process. And I will bring them back before y'all so they can present the beginning of their findings. But right now, they're looking at anything from, and there's a map that I gave y'all as well that shows the 9 properties that they're taking a look at in more depth. And so they'll look at anything from our LiDAR imagery to our historic aerial imagery, different plans that already exist out there, soil composition surveys, hydrology. And after they do a desktop study of all of that, we will make a plan for site visits to all of those sites. And during those site visits, will be more extensive looking at notable aquatic resources, terrestrial resources, looking at hydrology patterns, cataloging forest types and the conditions of those forests, assessment of any historically significant features on any of those properties. We'll also have stakeholder engagement during that time so that we can get feedback from any important stakeholders in the community as well as y'all. And then they will start to develop concept and potential site improvements. So they'll outline recommendations and strategies for each of those properties independently. Action plans, help with capital improvements, site prioritization, phasing, any kind of grant opportunities that exist. So this plan will begin the process for us to protect the integrity of each of these sites, their unique resources that exist, help decide the level of any public use that wants to be developed. In the last 2 years, we started a park ranger program, which I was excited to do because I don't wear that uniform anymore, but now I have a staff person that does. And, he's been able to connect people to those spaces. You'll see people walking around Lake Mayer all day long every day, but do they go out to Blue Sky and experience that property? And so ways that we connect people to those properties and decide whether or not we can extend that use or we need to protect those spaces. And last week with the fires at Wausau, is a great example of some technique, of something that can happen when you have that much open space. And so there are protections to put in place to be able to help prevent that and control that as we move forward. So these green space plans that we put in place, we'll start that process to actively manage those the best ability we can.
Mr. Chairman, I really want to thank Ms. Jackie and Ms. Holly for putting this together. I know it was a lot of information to go over, but the county's put a lot of resources into our open space program. As Ms. Holly said, we've got one park ranger on board now with the adoption of this year's budget. We added another, and with Kimberly Horn, hopefully we'll have a management plan of all these open spaces that will give us a logical approach as to how we develop, how we maintain, and how we use those open spaces. So I'm looking forward to them completing their work, and we'll come back to the board with that plan for y'all to vote on, and that will map out how we treat these hidden gems in Chatham County going into the future. So I want to thank these ladies for their presentation, and I'm looking forward to them coming back with the final product.
All right. Now let's start off with Commissioner North.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank y'all. I think I asked for this a couple months ago, so y'all have put a lot of work into getting this together. A lot of information. I'm very thankful for your efforts, but I also want to recognize that the largest purchase I think we've made is Green Island. And I believe, to my knowledge, we are the Georgia alone, but Chatham County has the most uninhabited barrier islands, and that's a protection for storms, and it just adds more protection. It's not just about green space, it's protecting citizens. And I just want to publicly say to Jesse Petrie, who I think spearheaded part of this, and the local delegation for getting this done, and the Lewis family for being very generous. I appreciate it. And it goes back to the blueprint when I think recreation was one of the top two things that they wanted. So it all fits together. Thank you for your time, and this is exactly what I was looking for. Thank you.
All right, any other? All right, let's go. Let's start with, all right, Commissioner Whiteley.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to say that, so I had the opportunity to kind of mess around on the story map last night as I was going through the agenda, and I found myself like staying up a lot later than I wanted to. So I appreciate that, but also just want to tip the hat to, Parks and Rec, PIO, as well as engineering for the collaboration on this. I think this is huge. I'm excited for the public to be able to see it, and I'm just looking forward to this getting out. We have so many beautiful spaces in our community, and in a lot of cases underutilized. So I'm hopeful that this will help get folks out and about. Thank you.
Commissioner Milson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That was my point. Great presentation. I mean, to see this is to know the places that I have not ventured into. But to know that they're there. I know Green Island is not accessible only by boat, but what about these other locations, and how well will they be available to the public?
That's something that the master plan is going to dictate. We've got some places that we really don't want people, there.
Right.
They're just for preservation and for flood mitigation. But as we're talking with the team, there will be, opportunities for us to do tours, and that's why we're staffing up. So some of these places will be available for people to visit, but when we get the master plan, we'll have all that inventory.
So then, when we start doing these tours, how do we know who's going out there? You got your park rep.
That's why they have to write you the plan.
That's where Parks and Rec will
Yeah,
come in
that's
to
why they have to
manage
write you the plan.
resources.
Yeah, you know, some of these have a lot of sensitive resources on them, and so we want to make sure we identify those and can look at that balance, where it makes sense to bring people to some of those spaces and where it doesn't make sense to bring people to those spaces. And then whether or not that's by permit or by specialty tour, or if it's something that we can open the gate, build a parking lot, and put in some trails and actually have some accessible space for them. So most of them are available right now. Green Island obviously is only get to by boat, and Great Ogeechee Lakes is not open, but the rest of the sites really are. But they may have very minimal resources on them at this point. So
Are you concerned about the unhoused population moving in?
we typically see that a bit more in our urban spaces, because the resources that we're looking for, water access and electricity, are more available in those spaces. And so I don't see that being a huge issue, but our park ranger actually works very closely with the homeless authority and with the police departments, and has behavioral health unit is pretty well versed in interacting with that population.
Good deal. Thank you very much. It's a great presentation.
You got them all? Yeah, they'll be on the website and then.
Yes, absolutely. And to reiterate to your question as well and point, the intent is, now that we've showed it to the commission, we want to get this out there for the general public to be a resource for everyone. And not just a resource, but again, to showcase and educate the general public as to why this is important, and what we're doing. Not always known to everyone. A lot of good things are happening behind the scenes as well for the community.
Commissioner Lockett?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Green Island is a nature work of art, and I'm glad to see Chatham County take possession of that and preserve it. So just want to let you know that's a great job.
Thank you. It's a beautiful property.
Okay. Commissioner, all right, I'm coming. Commissioner Kicklighter?
Thank you. I just want to thank y'all. Up until now, when people are clamoring on Facebook and everything else that we need more green space, we need more of that, I've known that throughout the years of me being here, we bought a lot of land. But now I see that we bought over 2,000 acres since I've been sitting here, and it'll be really nice to be able to point people in the direction to say, yeah, we're at least trying hard on the county level. So thank y'all. This is great.
All right, Commissioner Harge?
Thank you, Chairman. I did want to piggyback on what Commissioner Kicklighter is saying as far as this board, this commission has been so forward-thinking in so many areas, and so the intentionality with the preservation is impressive. And we have so many great people in place right now to carry on that baton, and I continue to be impressed. This is incredible, and I look forward to how we're going to use these spaces, how the community is going to be able to take advantage of it. Thank you so much. And I can attest to how closely the Homeless Authority does work with Parks and Recs. I've had some situations because, we have Matilda Beasley. And anytime I have any issues or concerns, it's like everyone works so closely together. And this project is a testament to how all you are amazing in your own individual departments, but you work really good collaboratively together, and Chatham benefits from that. Thank
Totally
you.
agree. And I will echo, having been in this world for 3 decades now, this board has been very, very supportive of this, but seeing the bigger picture too. We're not just assisting one specific little area. This really reaches into so many resources and so many benefits for the entire community. So we appreciate it for sure.
Got everybody? And let me just say how proud we are of what you're doing and how you're doing it. And what folks know, the backstory to this is it started out because we started to, in 2021, we started to find out how to keep places from flooding. And that's what this all started about. And we had, we moved $3.5 million, got another $500,000 grant. And so we started to block off the flooding, so it stop flooding people's houses and then all this. But let me tell you how strategic we must be in talking about opening this up for the general public, all right? There are areas that we need to protect, okay? And I'll give you, those of you who were on the field trip with me, when we went to Green Island, remember we climbed down that embankment and we found bones there that we sent off to Atlanta and found out they were human bones, so there was a cemetery there that belongs, and we did some research and found it belonged back to the Styles, okay? See, those are the kind of places we need to protect. So right now, going on with Green Island there is a collaboration between Department of Natural Resources, the Corps of Engineers, the county, the state
University of
archaeological
Georgia.
folks, all right? Because we have to identify those areas now. What I would ask the manager to do, just like we did with Green Island, some of these other places that some of the other commissioners have never been to, all right? You ought to set up something so because we got the little, the police department, Marine Patrol got that little thing that can take you anywhere you want to go with them 8 wheels, all right? And so, like for instance, if we go into Baumgardner, all right, they have to go by the water boat and stuff like that. Okay, you just can't walk in there. But what I would invite the commission to do to set up a time with the manager so they can give some tours of some of these places, all right? I've been to all of them now except one, and I plan to go to that one as soon as I can wrinkle some time out to go and see. Because you need to see so that you can talk to your constituents about it, all right? Especially, like for instance, seeing all there is to Triplet Park, all right? You may see the front part if you just go to the pavilion, you see the front part, but there's a whole lot more to Triplet than just the front part, okay? And so if you can, of course, some of those things you will have to have especially motorized equipment to get back there. You just can't go and do like you want to, so can set that up with Park and Rec, all right? So listen, I just thank you all for what you're doing and preserving. And see, one thing led to another. We wanted to stop people from getting flooding, and then we found out that these spaces could be of great access to us when we do flood migration and mediation on the flooding that had taken place through the whole thing. And I think Commissioner Whiteley and I were out there. That's why I know, what's the name of the place right off of, oh goodness, I got a brain freeze right now. Yeah, 17 where we were at where all the flooding was. And
Oh, so, yeah, we were just past, we were down.
Bradley Point.
Bradley Point.
Bradley
Down
Boulevard.
Bradley Point, and then, but then on the other side, on the same side that Love's is on, what's the name
Oh,
of it?
yeah, that's Album.
Bumgarner.
Album, you're right, see?
Correct.
And so they're connected, all right? And I've said from day one, all these dots are connected, and we just have to make sure how they're connected so that we don't have another event like the flooding we had down at Bradley Point and things. So, listen, thank you for what you're doing, and we appreciate you bringing us up to date with what's going on, all right? And we look for the plan, all right? Thank you all.
Thank you.
All right, getting ready now to move to you, Mr. Manager?
Yes, sir. Ms. Jackson is going to come back to the podium, and she's going to give a brief update on our solar program, and I emphasize brief.
He knows me very well.
Oh, we all know you very well.
Like I said, it's with love. I enjoy what I do. So with that being said, again, this is somewhat of a behind-the-scenes effort that is going on with the county and really has, as you'll see, made a difference in the overall portfolio of the county, how we're looking at long-term generations, how we're looking at savings and that type of thing. So I'm going to just give you a brief update on our pilot solar program that started a little bit, I guess about almost 2 years ago when we started working towards it. So the particular pilot that we started with was 4 buildings. And you may be familiar, that included the Citizen Service Center, which is on Eisenhower Drive, the Juvenile Court Facility off of Chatham Parkway, the Aquatic Center off of Sally Moo Drive, and then the larger, of course, the jail sheriff's complex, again, off of Chatham Parkway. We entered into what's called a solar energy procurement agreement with Cherry Street Energy, and that indeed is a utility. So that has allowed us to put solar panels on rooftops without any upfront cost to the county, without any operations and maintenance costs or anything like that. So as we've moved forward in that pilot discussion, we've seen definite savings over a period of time from January 2025 to July of 2026 this year. We're at a little bit over $208,000 in savings, almost $209,000 in savings within those 4 facilities. And what I've kind of got down at the bottom is just somewhat of a process. What's the process that we do to figure out, is this facility the right location for solar, and what those savings might look like over a period of time. So as a visual snapshot for those savings realized to date, again, you'll see it broken down. Citizen Service Center is almost at $18,000 in savings. Aquatic Center, $17,000, and then of course you can see the sheriff, almost $164,000 in savings by putting solar on certain areas throughout the sheriff's complex. So what this allows us to do is really to figure out what our loading is, meaning electricity loading, find that right balance where we don't want to give too much and too little, and that's where these numbers kind of get fine-tuned over time. This has also allowed us to change our energy rates with Georgia Power where it makes sense. And oftentimes, though, those are changed so that we get a lower rate. But what's really important is that this is a long-term savings, meaning as rates go up with Georgia Power, as they fluctuate dramatically in the summer months, these really extreme heat situations and that type of thing, we're at a steady state with our rates through Cherry Street Energy and the solar procurement. Also outside of the pilot, we did continue with your permission, and we continued to look at other sites where we have also put in rooftop solar. As you can see, we're up to 12 sites now. So that is a really good portfolio for the county. Everything from our public works building that you're familiar with. We've also worked with the health department and got solar on that facility, C&T, and then some of our PD, our police precincts as well. Again, we continue to go through our county-owned buildings and see where it makes the most sense. I'll be honest that it doesn't necessarily make sense with every building, which is why you won't see every building on this list. It depends on how much electricity they're using. Doesn't always work, and that's okay. That's part of the system when we do this analysis. But to give you an idea in this more layman's terms of what this savings is, aside from the money savings, what it's really helping the community and look at in a different comparison. Total impact today, we're looking at if we took about 272 gasoline-powered vehicles off the road for an entire year. So that's a neighborhood. That's a strong, strong number. And the amount of electricity that we've offset, and that includes air emissions and that type of thing, is equates to about 12 solar-equipped buildings. That's how much we're powering, if you will. And then if we had solar systems on individual homes, it's about the same as 225 homes. Again, a small subdivision is what we're talking about. So this is a big impact that we've made, not only in savings, but also air quality, quality of life, et cetera, for our community. I did want to tell you about some of these integrated efforts as well. You will start to see at these facilities where the first 4 that we looked at we have installed solar. We're also doing public-facing electric vehicle charging infrastructure installation. So the Aquatic Center has theirs right now, and it's about to come up to full commission. There's a whole process with that. And then we are working on installation at the juvenile court within the next 2 months. And Citizen Service Center has theirs going in line as well. And I'll be working with the Sheriff's Department on installation of a charging facility, really those stations that you see here to charge vehicles for the general public as we move forward. So all of that made sense when we were working on solar, because as they're digging to put in the solar lines and running conduit, let's go ahead and look at EV at the same time. So again, really planning long-term, having that forethought for locations where the general public would need it most. So as we continue to move forward, as I mentioned, we are continuing to look at other facilities. We honestly have tackled a lot of the existing buildings that we're able to have in place. As new builds come online, though, I want to make sure that we're looking at opportunities for solar, libraries, those type of things, gym facilities, as we look at that as well, and continue to work with this effort for the expansion of it. I will say in your packets, if you do have questions, I have been asked, there are a couple facilities that we, as I mentioned, we're not necessarily able to have a full installation just due to savings and that type of thing. There were other couple facilities that it would actually have cost the county hundreds of thousands of dollars in this downtown core to upgrade transformers and that type of thing. So when you weigh those numbers, it just didn't make sense long-term. So, and for that, we did evaluate the Civil Rights Museum on MLK. We looked at the Pete Lukakis building and the new Oglethorpe Courthouse as well. So I just wanted you to know that we're not missing those. We just have to weigh the pros and cons and then availability of that electricity load and how that looks long-term for the county as a whole. And that's what I have, but I just really reiterating, it's working well. We've seen a lot of savings, and we will continue to see those savings long-term. So that will come back to help the county in the long run as well. Any questions?
All right, any questions? Comment? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Jackson, excuse me.
Yes.
Thank you for the presentation.
Yes.
And I got to say, I'm impressed with the amount of money and savings that we've had, a year and 6 months and almost, $250,000.
Correct.
I mean, I think we're moving in the right direction. So
Absolutely.
I'm excited to see, how we can expand this and put it into use throughout our county and maybe save some tax dollars on utilities.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely, thank you.
Okay. Is it? Thank you so much for your presentation and what I failed to mention when you all were talking about and what PIO did, let them know now. Catherine, are they still here? All right.
Just behind the magic
Oh, that's all
mirror.
right. I know they can hear me real well.
Exactly.
All right. Because when they first came to me about buying them drones so they could put up, I was, I don't know. I don't see no use in that, but let me tell you something. Being able to go over top of those places and get where we couldn't walk and to bring photos back, the drones already paid for themselves. All right. Come on, Mr. Manager, let's move on to Employee Service Award.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. I'm going to ask our Human Resources team to come to the front, and as we recognize various county employees for their years of service to this community.
Good morning.
Morning.
Chairman, Commission, and County Manager, Assistant County Manager, and Team Chatham. We're very excited that we are celebrating a cumulative number of years, 235 years. You can go ahead and clap it up for that. And so we're going to start off with Lorenzo Bryant III from Public Works, 45 years of service. So we have to do a special clap for this person.
Yeah. I'm waiting on this one.
30 years of service, Assistant County Manager Linda Kramer, County Manager's Office. Congratulations. Thank you for your service. Awesome. Next, we'll go into our 15-year category. Judge Gregory Sapp, State Court, 15 years.
And give the rest of them time to get there.
This means I'm on, Mr. Chairman. That's all.
All right. Good, good.
Next, we have Mary McDonald, Clerk of Superior Court. Next, we have a 15 years of service, Sergeant Antonio Solomon, Police Department. With 15 years of service, Lieutenant Christopher Stanfield, Detention Center. Going into our 10-year category, I'm just trying to get to 5. 10 years, Joseph Itel, Detention Center. With 10 years of service, Brittany Boston, District Attorney's Office. Ten years of service, Alan Salmons, District Attorney's Office. Brittany's represented for both. With 10 years of service, Michael Zottoli, Tax Commissioner's Office. With 10 years of service, Elisa Stewart, Emergency Communications Office. And going into our 5-year category, Tony Mallory, Emergency Communications Office. 5 years of service, Ruperto Mitchell II, our favorite PJ, Project Management. With 5 years of service, Lieutenant Christopher Henson, CNT. Here's another special one, 5 years of service, Mr. Reginald Martin, County Attorney's Office.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know why y'all sitting over there.
Congratulations. Thank you. With 5 years of service, Angela Bliss Engineering. With 5 years of service, Shayna Johnson, State Court Clerk. And rounded it up here with 5 years of service, Ms. Monisha Bailey, voter registration. Thank you so much, Mr. County Manager.
To all our employees, this is always a worthy part and a good part for me, because what you do helps us to perform the way we perform and get all those things done that we need to be done. Thank you so very much for being here. There are no chairman items, there are no commissioner items. There is a table item that will remain on the table. And so we go now to items for individual action. Number 1, to request board approval of the following budget amendments and transfer. 1, in the general fund, increase museum revenue, $17,673 to increase museum other small equipment. 2, in the special service district, increase transfer from the risk management fund for $14,511 to increase fire, excuse me, increase fire department subscription based technology. 3, in the capital improvement program fund, transfer funds between projects as listed below to establish the sheriff security system project for $176,908. In the risk management fund, transfer $14,511 from risk management other insurance to transfer out to the special service district fund. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Properly motion is second that we request be granted. Are you ready for the question? Please cast your votes. All right, thank you. A resolution by the Chatham County Board of Commissioners to the Chatham Area Transit Authority, CAT, demand greater fiscal and administrative accountability, transparency, and clarity as to the management of transit service within Chatham County, Georgia. Is there a motion?
Move, Chairman.
Properly motion is second. Are you ready for the question? Please cast your votes to approve the resolution. Thank you so very much. All right. At this time, we're going to call on Chief Hadley, who's going to bring us his report.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I'll try to be brief.
Yes, sir.
I also have a co-presenter here today, Captain Kim Middleton. A part of the presentation is we're going to kind of highlight the support services division. That's kind of our inward-facing back office function of the police department, and it oftentimes doesn't get much attention, but is absolutely a critical function of the police department and how we operate and how we deliver services to the community. And I wanted to give Kim the opportunity to brag on our folks and highlight the work that her and her team does on a daily basis. So, just real quick before I get started, Commissioner Milton, I did send you an email on the update on Girard Avenue. It also has a map of all of our presence over there. We're able to AVL that and show you how often we've been over there on Girard and whatnot. So I just wanted to, it's in your inbox, so should be there for you. So. Briefly, I'm just going to touch on the crime statistics so far for 2026 compared to 2025. We've had about a 3% overall decrease in overall Part 1 crimes for 2026. We are slightly up on crimes against persons, specifically relative to aggravated assault, non-domestic firearms. which, as I asked our crime analysts, mostly is people flashing a firearm, a lot of road rage incidents and things of that nature, and that would account for the increase on that side. And property crime is down 21% in 2026.
Chief,
Sir.
can you go back to one slide? Were those dates right at the top?
It's
25 and 26.
Yeah, 2026, that's what we've had so far, and then, yeah, that should be year-to-date 2026.
Okay, I just want to make
Yeah,
sure.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yep, thank you. You caught it, I didn't. My apologies,
right.
but thank you.
Sorry about that.
No, that's good. Now, what you do have in front of all the commissioners and Mr. Chairman, a copy in front of the county manager, county attorney, assistant county managers, we put together a flock fax kind of brochure for you. Obviously, that's been getting a lot of attention, our flock technology here, not only locally, statewide, as well as nationally. You know, we've had flock cameras since 2020. We've had a robust policy relative to that. And we were the first agency in Chatham County to open the transparency portal so citizens can tap in and review and look at our searches in somewhat of a limited fashion. So let me just go through some of the facts, and then I'll answer questions for that. It only detects license plates in vehicles. It's only for law enforcement purposes only. And the data is purged on a rolling basis every 30 days. Like tomorrow, it'll go back 30 days. The very next day, it'll go back 30 days. And that data is purged through the system. There's no facial recognition. There's no immigration or traffic enforcement tied to our flock camera system, and obviously no personal use is allowed. We do audit that system to look for any violations of our staff. So far, we have not. We have not found that. The first audit, we went back to January 2025. We did meet with flock representatives yesterday. Obviously, this is an emerging kind of conversation nationally. We are trying to stay as ahead of it as we can. But I do think that we are well positioned to be good stewards of the program, to have the proper checks and balances and policies that ensures that the utilization of the flock camera system is for the purposes in which you guys purchased it for. In my humble opinion, it's a game changer. It is an absolutely critical investigative tool for our officers and for our detectives. But with that said, we have to obviously be good stewards of that program. Get our initiatives, our transparency portal. It allows for public searches of our activity. Users can view data searches, reason for searches, and number of searches. Self-audits, again, every 30 days, and again, we have a very robust policy. The policy is in the back of that brochure that I had given you. You can share that with your constituents. That policy is on our website. All of our policies are accessible to the public through our website. So any policy that they want to see of the Chatham County Police Department, they can view. And we've had that up there for several years. We have nothing to hide. Here we are. Here's what we do. Here's how we function. And we want the public to have confidence in that. Before I turn it over to Captain Middleton, any questions about?
Question for Chief? Yes, ma'am.
I know there's been some horrible things going on in neighborhoods that are now cutting down the poles.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you allowed to say what neighborhood that is? Or what district?
We have not, Chatham County Police Department has not had any vandalism and or flock cameras that have been cut down. I do believe the city of Savannah has. I'm not sure which neighborhood that is, but in unincorporated Chatham County, we have not had any vandalism and or cameras cut down.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Commissioner Whiteley?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Chief, for this. I've been getting hammered about flock here recently,
Sure.
so the questions I am asking are just some questions that I've gotten from my constituents, and some that I think definitely warrant a little bit of deeper dive. As it relates to data sharing, it's based on the the transparency portal, it kind of shows us one thing is, well, two things about the transparency portal. One, there are mentions that these are being used for traffic, and it's my understanding that traffic as well as immigration enforcement was not one of the uses typically outlined in it. And so when somebody's viewing the transparency portal and they see traffic, what does that represent?
As a reason for the search, that could be, and depending on the person inputting that data, the officer that's doing that search, it could be they could have had a hit and run. That may be a drop-down option in the search reason. One thing, just so I don't get, before I forget, we enhanced our policy to where now any search of the flock system, they have to add a control number, a police report number, and or a CAD number.
Gotcha.
So it can't be, that just ensures a little more accountability on our part. So if we see something that may raise an eyebrow, then that's going to have to be connected to an actual police report,
Right.
Or CAD number.
That's
But going back to your question, it could be really any traffic-related incident that they're investigating. It could be somebody ran someone off the road. You know, you're driving down the Truman, someone cuts you off, you have to take evasive action, and they keep on going. You call the police, you say, hey, it was a red, Honda Civic, and we may search Flock to see if we get within a certain time frame a red Honda Civic traveling in that direction and may hit one of those networks in Chatham County. One thing also, we also share our network, as well as we have networks that are shared with us. So every jurisdiction or municipality that has a flock camera system, and they allow other agencies to access those, which is good sense because we share jurisdictional boundaries, that would show as a search on a network. For example, I was looking at just a report from our crime analyst, and if I went all networks, that could be all over the country. There's like almost 7,000 networks across the country. So that would show that we access 7,000 networks across the country. If we had an interstate crime or somebody that traveled from, Georgia to Florida, or we didn't know where they went. It could be a missing person. So we're gonna put in the data, the potential vehicle description, tag number if we have it, or a partial tag, and see if anything matches that query, and it could go all over the United States. And so that would add to the volume and or number of networks that we access. But I hope I answered your traffic
Yes,
question.
you did, and that kind of takes me to my next question, which is kind of the access to the data. And I know one of my concerns personally is just the fact that the data is accessible countrywide. We have our internal policies to kind of vet and make sure that our team members are using it properly, but we don't have any control over anybody else who might just be right over the bridge or whatever. And so maybe probably warrants deeper discussion, but if we were able to maybe contain our data into Chatham County and only release it if there were something like a warrant or some sort of judicial or administrative lever to push that. That way we have another level of accountability, because once somebody in Timbuktu is using the data, we don't know what they're using it for, and I think that's something that's just concerning to me.
What they don't have access to, they have to actually search for a specific. They just don't have all access to everything that we search. For example, if somebody let me give you this was very interesting to me, kind of telling. When I asked our crime analyst he did just his own query of who's accessed our system. You know who the number one accessor of the Chatham County Police Department flock system was? Houston Police Department in Houston, Texas. Because my assumption is very large department, I think they might have 5,000, 7,500 officers. They're one of the largest police departments in the country. Every search, they must just search every network. So instead of narrowing it I'm just gonna search Texas, I'm just gonna search Houston County, or Harris County is Houston, or a variety of other queries. They're just gonna do an all search for everything. That's just an assumption on my part.
Yes, sir.
But it was interesting, right? But they don't have access to, they would only have access to the specific search that they did for that, for a full plate, or even a partial plate, but it would be, let's just say they had my information, right? They have my personal vehicle and my personal plate. They would only have access, they could only query that. They can't just go, I want to look at everything that Chatham County is doing with every plate that they're looking at and every query. They don't have access to that. It has to be very specific to the query that they're putting into the flock system, and if they're asking to access our network.
Yes, sir. And so
I don't know if that clarifies anything.
It does to some degree,
Yeah.
and again, I think it warrants greater discussion amongst us offline. Now, in the policy here, one of the things that's noted is that the data is stored with Flock. It's owned by us. In our contract or agreement with Flock, are there specific measures taken to make sure that they are protecting our data? Or because they're hosting it on their servers, they kind of get some leeway on how they use it?
I know that it is not sold. The data is not sold. I think that would beg a further discussion, or at least a more inquiry on our part. We did meet with Flock representatives yesterday, kind of field reps, so to speak. Certainly not hired ups. I will say that they were extremely open, willing to come to any meeting, whether it be public or private, and talk about the system, the kind of the do's and the don'ts, the myths and the facts about the system. So I think, obviously they're trying to make sure that their product, or at least, is, has the integrity that the community deserves and wants from it. And so, we can always set something up. They're willing to come in any ways, like I said, private, public, and talk through whatever questions that the community has.
Yes, sir. And then the last thing I'll just add is I was glad to see that right now we don't have any use of facial recognition. And I just want to our colleagues, just kind of share something that I think warrants greater discussion, the potential of us maybe banning facial recognition. And I know that might sound extreme, but there's data, peer-reviewed data, if you will, that has shown that there have been a number of false identifications using facial recognition. And it's all fun and games until they run up on you at your stepsister's baby shower because they thought you were somebody else. So, I don't want that to happen. It could lead to a lot of different issues and liabilities for us. And so I'm hopeful that we will consider some sort of policy to ban facial recognition to some degree. And that was all I had, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Mr. Commissioner White, I will interject there that, we're supportive of this technology. I think it's a helpful crime-fighting tool. I've talked with the chief. I've had some reservations initially in the use of this technology, but I'll make sure the county attorney's office, kind of reviews any agreement that we have with them to ensure that, privacy is upheld. So we'll get back with you on that.
Yes, sir. And I just want to state for the record, I'm not adamantly opposed to flock cameras. I mean, the proof is in the pudding. We've solved a number of crimes, found a number of missing people with flock cameras. I just want to make sure that we are being very, very intentional when it comes to protecting our community's data. And that's the big thing for me, just the privacy aspect.
Sure. Right.
Ironically, they just had this same kind of discussion associated with the Ring cameras. We're having that same issue where people, sharing data and that kind of thing. So I don't think this is going away.
And I don't know about y'all, but I've received over the last 3 to 4 years a number of letters that said, "Hey, buddy, we kind of got hacked, and your personal information might be somewhere." I know other people in here have gotten those letters, and so again, when we talk about just preserving people's information, I just want to be very intentional about that. But again, I support and trust your leadership, Chief, and I appreciate you sharing this with us. And again, I'm not adamantly opposed to flock. I just want to make sure that we're being very mindful of our data.
Sure, absolutely.
All right, Commissioner North.
Thank you, Chairman. Chief, for my clarity, you stated that you can enter your tag number and a name that, can I enter your tag number and name
No.
or?
No. A law enforcement officer.
So how does it,
You
for
talking
the
about the
public?
transparency portal?
Yes.
So the transparency portal, we'll go back to,
I just want people to understand not anybody can check on.
so users can view the date of the search, reason for the search, and the number of searches. It cannot search
Where the car was.
where the car, you cannot go in and search your neighbor's plate and figure out where they're going to and from. You can't do that.
Okay, so there's no location, there's nothing like that?
No,
It's
sir.
just that it was flagged in a search?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
And in our policy too, only certain ones can access the flock.
For us?
Yeah, for
Yes.
us.
So we have our sworn officers and our
Right.
crime analysts. So we don't have, lots of our administrative assistants and civilian
Right.
personnel, other than our crime analysts, do not have access to flock. So,
And-
and we can shut that down. So what will
Right.
also happen in talking to our flock reps yesterday is if through their auditing measures, if they flag someone, they can shut their access down immediately. And then we do an administrative review to determine if those searches were, within policy or, for law enforcement purposes. And then they would get it shut back on. So they are developing more auditing tools and safeguards within Flock, and I commend them for that. I think it's just, they know more now than they knew yesterday, just like us. And I think, everybody's trying to, make sure that, again, we're being intentional, that we're creating public trust and being transparent, because this is such a benefit to the community. But with that, we have to be good stewards of it.
Sure.
And that's why they have to put in their case number and ID and things.
Yes,
So
sir.
that you know who did it.
Yes, sir.
You know who's accessing it.
Yes, sir.
All right? Commissioner Kicklighter?
Thank you. I think this is, a lot of this probably is just better public relations, period, that there's so many misconceptions out there because the flock cameras, they do not have facial identification, correct?
Correct.
Okay. I think that's the big thing that a lot of people feel when they're being upset and stuff like that, but there's just so many benefits to it as far as, if there's a major crime in an area and to be able to pull it up, I mean, as someone that's unfortunately been through major crime before with a family member, it would have been nice to be able to pull up some cameras near that neighborhood and see if there was a car in the area before it happened, and they could have probably narrowed things down pretty quick like. And, I just think the good has to outweigh any bad, but I think it's just a public relations thing, letting the public know that we're not, none of the local governments are looking at their faces and trying to identify them. And it's just such a huge benefit to it rather than such a negative thing as it's being made out to be.
All right.
That's a.
Commissioner. Oh, wait.
I think the key here is that if you go into that as a police officer, you better have a legitimate law enforcement purpose. And if you don't, you're in trouble.
And that's
And
good.
we do check.
Yeah, and that's good.
All right. Commissioner.
To dovetail a little bit on what Commissioner Kicklighter was mentioning, and thank you, Chief Hadley, for this information. It's very helpful to us to be able to share that with our constituents. I think a lot of this is going to end up in Supreme Court someday, sooner than later. But I would ask, to dovetail on what Commissioner Kicklighter was saying, what's the next step to bring this that you shared with us to the public? This is misinformation that's fueling a lot of this concern. What's y'all's next step to take this to the public more readily?
Well, we've certainly put our policy is on the website. We can put the info fact sheet that we have here in the brochure. We can put that on our Facebook page. And I would offer, we will come to any community meeting that any of y'all are at or want us at. We can have a specific community meeting about flock specifically. That's not a problem. We can do that. In an effort to be transparent, allays people's fears, answer their questions. So we're, wherever we need to be, at whatever time we need to be, we will be there.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, one thing I want to dovetail on that is, this has not been a problem for us. I have talked to a couple of chiefs that have had to reprimand and prosecute employees for violations. So, as Chief said, when you use this technology, you've got to have a reason. I talked to one chief, and he said that one of his officers was put his ex-girlfriend's tag number in, was following her around, and the officer was terminated. This is very helpful technology. We just need to guard against the bad actors. And when you got an officer who's out there using the technology illegally, that's when you need to take action. So, but we have not had that problem.
Commissioner Hodge?
Thank you, Chairman. I did want to, I don't want to get in the weeds with this stuff, but can you help the general public also understand there's other technology in use as well? There are tag readers at private entities, private institutions. There is facial recognition actively being used in spaces outside of this. So there are opportunities beyond what law enforcement is using for breaches to happen and for that technology to be abused. So this is just a small piece of.
Yes, ma'am, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
There is such a digital footprint in any community. There's all kinds of private and public camera systems. You know, our school zone cameras, I mean, they are license plate readers as well. Now, they don't have facial recognition, they don't have anything like that. You know, as Mr. Kegler said, private ring cameras. If they're facing your door and you live across the street, that camera's capturing every time you come and go. And they can be subpoenaed by law enforcement in a criminal investigation if we need those cameras to solve a crime and whatnot. But it's also being collected by the private citizen across the street, and they can view that and share that in any manner in which they see fit for the most part, unless it's harassing or you know, things of that nature. So to think that any of us do not travel throughout this community and are not captured on camera and seen where we're coming and going, we would be a fool to think that we're not, because we are.
Yeah, my mailroom uses facial recognition, but I do want to commend you, Chief. You know, I'm always talking about the financial crimes, and I'm always protective of our elderly citizens with the advances in technology and how, like you said, the bad actors have become so sophisticated in their approach. But your efforts to deal with the financial crimes and things of that nature, you didn't highlight a lot of it so far in your report today, but you are to be commended. The department has done a really good job in managing those financial crimes.
Thanks. I'll do a report next time.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner North?
Just to answer Commissioner Hussey's question about how to get it out there, it's been in the last week, I believe, that the police department on their Facebook page put out a pretty informative announcement about the flock safety and all that. So maybe you can put that out there. It was a very.
Commissioner Lockett?
Thank you. Chief, I see this as progress, and there will be progress, and many times it's being misused, but that's just a fact of life. But we're glad to see this being done.
Thank you.
I'm sure there'll be other things coming along in the future, which will be even better for our protection.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And Mr. Manager, if you will, look at our retreat agenda, and if we can bring in the representative at the retreat, all right, and have him do some things, because what I would hope we would do first is to make sure those of us up here, understand and get our questions answered before we decide to do a public engagement or town hall meeting or whatever you want to call it on the flock cameras, okay? That'll be, and I think that would be even more the right thing to do towards your department. But again, we emphasize today, we don't have any violations at all.
That's
All
correct.
right? So, okay, we can move on.
Okay.
Up
Well,
to
I'm
you.
going to introduce Captain Kim Middleton, and I can't talk enough about her. She is just does such a great job. She comes in, she does her work, just gets at it. And there's nothing that her part of the police department doesn't touch, from purchasing to finance to travel to implementing new technologies to the buildings that we have purchased and the renovations that we are going to undertake. And I'm not going to steal her thunder, but I just can't say enough about her. She's just fantastic. And I wanted her to come and talk about her people and what she does because she deserves that. So without any further ado, Captain Kim Middleton.
She cook you one of them 7-Up pound cakes?
Yeah.
Good morning, Commissioner.
Good morning.
I want to thank Chief Hadley for the opportunity to introduce to you the support services of the Chatham County Police Department. But I would also like to acknowledge MacArthur Holmes. MacArthur was the person that hired me over 35 years ago. I ain't gonna say how much over 35, to be a jailer for the Chatham County Sheriff's Department. And I've been with Chatham County ever since then. Thank you, MacArthur, good choice. So you know about CCPD. You know that CCPD has approximately 6 divisions. Each division has a captain or a commander that manages that division. I am the commander of the Support Services Division. And while it is the smallest division within the department, administratively, the Support Services Division makes the biggest impact. We are the business management component for the entire department, to include Marine Patrol. Support Services has 12 people, including myself. We handle, we initiate, we facilitate, we schedule, we document, we report, we maintain, we store, we plan, we organize, and we produce every business transaction that flows through our department, no matter how small or how large. Support services consist of the Property and Evidence Unit, the Records Unit, Policy and Compliance and Accreditation, the Quartermaster Unit, and as part of our strategic plan, we are also responsible for facilities, infrastructure, technology, and innovation. The goal of Support Services Division is to provide all staff, both sworn and non-sworn, with everything necessary to perform their duties in an effective and efficient manner, in accordance with the vision and the mission of the police department and Chatham County government. Our division consists primarily of civilian staff, not officers. Up until last week, there were only 2 officers in support services, and that's myself as a captain and my lieutenant, who is responsible for accreditation, compliance, and policy. Our team of people strive to demonstrate the best possible customer service to the citizens by showing respect, cooperation, and vigilance, while performing our duties in an effective and proficient manner. Our quartermaster, Mr. Marvin Ellis, is responsible for the purchase of uniforms, equipment, furniture, vehicle services, car wash services, dry cleaning services, paper goods, toilet tissue, supplies, you name it, he's responsible for purchasing it. He and his inventory control specialist also handles deliveries, shipments, destruction, and anything else you can think of that we would need to do with equipment and supplies. Our record supervisor, Ms. Kathy Dixon, is not only responsible for paper records, but electronic records. She is also the department's tech, and she is responsible for GCIC, running criminal history checks on everyone. She's responsible for hits, as well as open records requests. Our property and evidence manager, Ms. Monica Jackson, is responsible for every single item that our officers submit, whether it's found property, lost property, or evidence in a criminal case. And our lieutenant, Lieutenant Roger Flannery, handles the BLS citations, the BLS program, the BLS cameras, and the BLS company. He also runs BLS court, along with Judge Yancey. He's our court liaison. He works arduously with the court administrators of every level at the courthouse. And he's also responsible for getting us accredited, because Chatham County Police Department is a Georgia certified accredited agency. Our greatest stakeholders are the citizens of Chatham County. Because we take our fiduciary responsibility seriously, we work with external stakeholders to ensure every taxpayer dollar is used in a lawful and feasible manner. All support services operate out of the West Chatham precinct. To be honest with you, we are running out of space, especially our property and evidence room. But that's for later. The relationships we have with Recorder's Court, with purchasing, with finance, with human resources, with ICS, with facilities and maintenance, and many, many others, to include engineering and occupational safety, allows CCPD to operate within the rules of laws, local ordinances, budget, and policies. We are never over budget. From quotes to invoices to purchase orders, payments, support services touches every aspect of business management within CCPD. And they say we run a tight ship. Every budget dollar is managed carefully and meticulously. From ammunition to uniforms to police reports and software subscriptions, support service ensures every citizen, every employee, and every stakeholder receives what they need to do what they need to do. And guess what? We get the job done with 12 people, 12 including me. So 12 people, 3 precincts, 2 new facilities, 1 department that supports services. So I want to take you now and show you our 2 new facilities, or at least one of them. This is the Babcock building, which you all purchased for us, or we purchased, however you want to play it, in 2024-2025. This building has been slated to provide a property and evidence unit that will be full service and current and up to date for the large volume of property and evidence that we currently handle. It's also slated to be a training center for our training unit. We plan to have it up to date as soon as possible. We have enlisted the help of Colonel Mr. George Bowen to assist us, and we now have an architect and engineering firm to help us, which is Cardell Mandela. They are busy assessing the building, and there's more to be said about that later. The second one of our buildings is the Babcock building. The Ross Road building, which is located at 3518 Ross Road. The Ross Road building is slated to be our special operations building. It will house things like SWAT, K-9, and other special services and units that we house. However, we were scheduled to begin mold remediation and demolition of the Ross Road building on August 31st. But due to some recent incident, we have had to push that date back, and we are awaiting more information as to how we are proceed. The building was struck by an 18-wheeler. He didn't do it intentionally, but he did strike the building, and engineering has been out to assess it.
They were trying to turn around.
And hit the building.
They turned in and tried to do a U-turn and then backed up and hit the building. So engineering has been out there to assess the building as well as occupational safety and risk management.
Okay.
So anything further that we do, we have to wait until permission from them or the okay or approval from them to move forward on anything.
All right.
So in a nutshell, that's support services. That's what we do. We handle the money, we handle the paper, and everything we have put before you, you have never denied us anything. You've approved every RFP, every request for grant, every request anything we've asked for, and we thank you for that. On behalf of myself and my support services team, thank you so much, because you make what we do seem like it's really important. Thank you so much.
All right,
Do I
any
have
questions?
any questions?
All right, so Commissioner Hodge?
Thank you, Chairman. Were there 2 vacancies in your area? I'm just asking because of the org chart. There were 2 names. It looks like 2 or 3 names were missing.
They cut it off, so I can't see it. Let's see.
There it is.
Where are we?
Are there vacancies in your area? Are
There is
those
no-
positions?
We have no vacancies.
Okay, thank
we-
you.
We are totally staffed, 12 people. As a matter of fact, until last week, we just got a new officer, so technically, we now have 13 people, even though that person is going through training.
Thank
So we
you.
have 13 people. And I do want to make sure that I make it clear, we fall in the direct chain of command of Assistant Chief Julie Talbert, and she has been a mentor to all of us.
I wonder if that's my long-lost cousin right now.
Which one?
Marvin Ellis.
Marvin Ellis? No, he's a little, no.
You'd be surprised.
He loves his Irish heritage.
Now, you know what that means? You know what that tells me? You know what that tells me? Y'all have never been to Estill, South Carolina. You'd be surprised.
He loves his Irish
All right.
heritage.
Any more? Thank you all.
Okay.
All right. Let me ask this question though before, because she said they were running out of space. All right, when we get ready to move the, you'll see out of the West Chatham building, and we're gonna move out the 911, right?
Yes, sir.
Those spaces become?
Well, we purchased the Ross Road and the Babcock building
understand
for
that.
additional space, but they will reclaim some of the space at the West Chatham precinct after 911 moves out.
Moves out.
And SEMA when they
And
move
SEMA.
out.
Yeah,
So-
that's what I want to make sure. See, because that was before it was SEMA, before it was 911, it was theirs.
Yes, sir.
So they're gonna reclaim.
They're gonna reclaim
You
that,
answered my
yes.
question. You're gonna reclaim, so. Space not there, but it's coming.
Okay.
All right, thank you all. All right. Let's go on now to the action calendar. May I have a motion to accept the action calendar in its entirety? Probably motion and second that we accept the action calendar in its entirety. Are you ready for the question? Please cast your votes. Thank you. All right, we'll go from the action calendar, we go to our first reader. An ordinance to amend and create a new subsection of Chapter 3, Land Use Article 1, subsection 3-102 of the Chatham County Code, imposing a temporary moratorium on development related to large-scale data centers with an electrical capacity of 10 megawatts or greater, and prohibit the conversion of warehouses and large industrial buildings to data centers used within the unincorporated Chatham County. We read it into the records for the first reading. Let me say that there will be a second reading for this as well as a public hearing. Yes, sir. All right, 10,000 megawatts, okay. Okay, I'm glad, but it just says 10 right here. All right, so let's make sure I get that constructed. But that's the first reading. We read it into the record. At our next meeting, we will have the second reading of it as well as public hearings, all right? So we can alert the public that that's what will happen at our next commission meeting. And in the meantime, I've asked all the commissioners to get with the attorney's office and carry your concerns and your questions so that we can get those answered. There are no second readers. Mr. Manager, we're in your hands for informational items.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, and just briefly, I want to let y'all know that the presentation you heard today on the open space, that'll be on the county website. We want to make sure y'all saw it first, so all that'll be out there for public consumption. Want to remind you that we've got Chatham Municipal Association meeting coming up next Wednesday at 6 p.m., and Bloomingdale will be hosting. And then I want to make sure you've got on your calendar, as I continue to remind you about our board retreat, September 29th, 30th, and October 1st. And that's all my updates.
That's
Mr.
all?
Chairman. Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. So there is a need for us to have an executive session for acquisition, for
Litigation and land
litigation
acquisition.
and
Land
appointments,
acquisition.
all right?
Personnel.
Yes, sir. Personnel.
Litigation, land acquisition.
Right.
That's personnel.
Personnel.
Yeah.
All right, may I have a motion to recess? For properly motion and second that we recess into executive session. Ready for the question? Please cast your votes before you move, before you leave, before you move, before you leave, too. All right? We're in recess.